these and you progress and you make the progression. Year one goes good, year two goes good, year three, you're continuously making progression. But then what happens is that somehow there is a shift. And what's that shift and how can you avoid it is what I'm going to talk about on today's episode, because I want to talk about why that when you get to the dissertation process in particular, that the coursework that you did throughout your doctoral program might fail you. And I know for many of you all, it's the start of the semester, you're trying to figure things out. You want to do well in your dissertation, but it just seems like there is something that just happened. It's just like the support, everything went away that you had when you were taking classes. And so that's why on today's episode, I want to talk about why coursework might fail you, what you can do differently, and how we possibly can support you to make that transition from student to the scholar that you need to. And I just want to say thank you so much for folks watching this episode of From ABD to PhD show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we help doctoral students write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. What I want to say also is that in 2024, I want to say thanks so much that because of your support and because of what's happening with Done Dissertation, we're able now to have more opportunity to get our word and message out to more people. So I do want to give a shout out to one of the first platforms that really gave us an opportunity back in 2020 when we first started doing these episodes of From ABD to PhD show. They are HBCU Smart TV. So what will happen now on Sundays, episodes of our From ABD to PhD show and other content that we produce at Done Dissertation will be streamed on HBCU Smart TV. So if you want to learn more about HBCU Smart TV, you can go to www.hbcusmarttv.com. There you can look at what our content is on Sundays that will be airing, as well as content from other folks. Their platform is dedicated to uplifting what's happening in the Black community and really putting education at the forefront, whereas this stuff will be related to graduate students and doctoral students, but they also have other content related to children. So they have children's cartoons and other content like that, as well as other things relevant to HBCUs. So if you're interested in learning more, go to hbcusmarttv.com. And with that, as always, our episodes of From ABD to PhD show are sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. The goal of this program is over the course of a year to help you write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. So if you're someone like, hey, I'm trying to figure things out, I want to get this dissertation done, but just not sure how to do it and where to go, I would invite you to apply to work with us. You can scan the QR code that is here on your screen, or you can visit www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about our program and apply to work with us. So with that said, I want to get into the content and material of today's episode of what to do when coursework fails you. There's just something that's just so unique about the doctoral experience in particular, or even if you're in a master's program, you're writing a thesis, right? It's like you do all these coursework, you do all these things where you have this kind of support. Folks bring you along. But then when you get to the dissertation, they're like, all right, figure it out and fly on your own. But in many programs, I know for you, if you're watching this, you might have realized and come to the, the thought in your head is that, hey, everything that I learned in my coursework is not applying to what I'm doing in my dissertation process. And why didn't my program prepare me? And so I understand these are some of the questions that you might be having. And I would give you the analogy that you might be feeling right now that almost like you've taken driver's ed courses, you've taken a number of them, and then all of a sudden that you finish 2 courses and you go take your driver's test, but on the driver's test, they want you to parallel park. You didn't have a chance to practice that during your 2 driver's ed courses. That is sometimes what's happening to folks as you're going through the dissertation process. And I want to give you some strategy and insight today on how to get through that and how to overcome it. So what I want first you to consider is that, the work that you're doing when you are a doctoral student, you have to be mindful is that you are your best advocate, right? And so what that means is that as a doctoral student, the first way to overcome when coursework fails you is that you have to sometimes re-educate yourself on aspects of your training that you did not get or things that are missing. There is nothing wrong with that. So what might happen is that when you are going through this process, you may have to take an opportunity to, ask your chair for questions, get resources from the university, see what workshops are available. This is why we put a lot of content out online for you all at, very low cost, because we know that sometimes they're just pieces of the program, and particularly around the mindset, the things that, that are not the technical aspects of doing a dissertation, but like the mental aspects is what we try to focus on with you all in our content, because we know that sometimes is the thing that's holding you up. It's not that you don't have the skill to run the analysis. It's like, what do you do with the analysis once you do it? Or how do you make decisions in your research? That all comes from up here. This is why I say a lot of times research is 80% thinking, 20% doing. And so when you are trying to figure out, especially when coursework you feel has failed you, you have to start figuring out and getting access to different resources to supplement and augment what you didn't maybe get in your program. Some of those might be university sponsored. So, most definitely check out your university writing center. I know there are kind of a wide spread of how these university writing centers work for you all as doctoral students. Sometimes they're not geared towards graduate students. And I'm on a dissertation committee for one of my students at my university, where he's actually exploring the role of graduate student writing administrators, because this is something that is needed, right? We know that doctoral students need that writing center support, and not all universities have that. But if you do, see what trainings are available through your writing center. Your library is another key component. So if you're trying to figure out a way to, put together what's your sources and like have a way to do your reference list and all those things, like the library has great references and great resources. Like literally, shout out to my librarian at the university. Like I had a conversation with her about a month and a half ago. I was working on a paper, and in my field, we typically write in the American Psychological Association format, APA format. And the journal I was submitting to for this paper was in Vancouver. I had no clue how to do Vancouver or like what that style even entailed. So I was able to set up a meeting with the librarian to help me understand what was the best way I could take my paper that I wrote in APA and translate it into Vancouver. And they showed me through using one of the platforms, Zotero, is what I ended up doing, is creating my reference list in Zotero and then just transitioning the whole paper over to Vancouver. So these are some of the things that when you have access to resources that you do. Again, I share this because I'm not any different than you. I'm someone who's a faculty member. I have 60 plus publications. I get it, right? I've done this thing. I've done it pretty well. But we all need sometimes at times to re-educate ourselves throughout this process. So don't feel like you're less than for, engaging in this. These are what the resources are for. You're literally paying, some of you all 50, 60, upwards of $100,000 by the time you're done with these doctoral programs, because it takes you a long time, that you've paid and invested in yourself. Use all the resources available to you. But there may be a case when those resources might not be enough. I can recall when I was about my second or third year as an assistant professor, I wanted to do more statistical analyses, because the research questions I was starting to ask in my work were more geared towards quantitative research. And while as a doctoral student, I had that training, I didn't do my dissertation. I didn't do a quantitative dissertation. So I wanted to get more support and more enhancement on my quantitative research skill set. So what I was able to do is actually secure and actually earned a grant from the National Science Foundation to fund a research project. But as part of the research project in this particular award category, they wanted you as the PI to also have a professional development arm to it. And so as part of my professional development, I actually went back and took entry levels and advanced level statistics courses in a psychology program, as well as worked in a psychometrics program and work with a psychometrician so that I could improve my skill set. So that was something that sometimes you could seek funding, grant funding opportunities to get other folks to pay for that training that you might need. And it's the same thing when people look to work with us at Done Dissertation. We are another enhancement, right? So you might find that you need support from us. One way that folks can fund it is actually going through the university. Some people have funded it through their PIs in their lab. Some people go to their program directors, to the graduate school, to actually get support and funding to work with Done Dissertation. These are things that as a doctoral student, you just have to be resourceful of, especially when your coursework fails you. And we just know this is the case, but I just want to give you all like the tactical information, because this is something that I don't just understand from seeing my own students go through this at Done Dissertation as well as my university, but I see it myself as my own, someone who's trying to continuously improve as a scholar. So you can't be afraid and underestimate educating yourself. So that is the first thing you have to do when your coursework fails you. Second is that somehow as doctoral students, when we get to the dissertation phase, all of a sudden we feel like, and I think it's pressure put on by our programs a lot of times, that we have to be these independent researchers and we have to do everything ourselves. And with that, we have to figure it all out. And literally, you do not have to do that. What I want you to start doing is that when you don't understand something, ask your chair for clarity and ask for examples in particular. The way that you undo sometimes and help supplement what you didn't get in your coursework is start to ask for examples. And I'm going to give you an instance of how this might look in practice. And this is something I had to do with my own doctoral student. They were doing a quantitative dissertation, and part of their dissertation work was a survey instrument, but part of the survey instrument asked qualitative questions at the end, like, what was your experience with X, Y, and Z related to their study? And so when they were writing up their findings chapter, they were having a hard time figuring out how to integrate the quantitative data with that qualitative responses, because they found that the qualitative response was so rich. And so literally what I had to do was show them an example from a couple different types of dissertations about how this could be laid out. And then it's like, hey, here are a couple of options. Which one fits your kind of style and where you see this? Try it out. Let's submit it to me for feedback, and then let's work through it together to figure out how we can enhance it if we need to, or it might just be good enough as is. Those are the types of things that when you as a student, because the student asked me for an example and I thought it was important to give them one, when you ask for examples, it puts the onus on the chair to really help you figure it out. And sometimes a chair, and be ready for this, they may say, I don't have the best example. This is when they may say, hey, go see a committee member. Or you might figure out, it may say to them, hey, I know you don't have good examples, but can I reach out to X committee member to ask what they would think and maybe see if they have any suggestions? This is what your committee is in place for. They are the experts. They are people who are really want to see you succeed. They're spending their time and energy on your dissertation. So utilize that whole resource and ask questions. But you can't sit as a doctoral student and want to just be by yourself and figure it out internally. That head game that you end up playing with yourself is what keeps folks ABD, to be honest with you. We see it over and over again. And this is why when folks who work with us in our velocity coaching program, one of the things that we often tell them, and I say always on our onboarding calls, is that, hey, when we have our office hour calls, ask whatever question you want to ask that will give you the clarity that you need to get done. Because I don't want a question that we could answer in 2 to 3 minutes be the thing that kept you back from writing for an entire week. Because we know it's sometimes just those little things that keep you back from finishing. And so you have to recognize that as a person and start asking those questions. Or if you don't feel comfortable, get into an environment like us in our Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program, where that is the expectation. We want you all to ask those questions that you don't feel like you could ask in front of your faculty members, because you might feel, oh my God, they might think I don't know anything. Like, those are the things we want to see you do in working with us in our program. This is why we put it together, because we just know that as a doctoral student, you have to have that support. You need those guidance. You need that guidance. You need those things to be able to get out of your dissertation process successfully. So this is what we want you to do. And if you're someone, as you're watching, it's like, hey, I really need that help. I really need that support. I want that community to get my dissertation done, and I want to be done quickly. I would invite you to apply to work with us in our Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. To learn more about our program, you can go to www.velocitydissertation.com. And for those of you all who might be watching on, streaming this on, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or our folks on our HBCU Smart TV, Smart Sundays, folks, go ahead and scan the QR code that's on our screen. It will take you right to the website so that you can learn more about our program, and you can click on the application button to apply and work with us. All it takes is for you to make that investment in yourself, the time, your monetary investment. That could be the life-changing thing that you need to get your dissertation done. So don't let your pride and ego get in the way of knowing that, hey, I need to be in an environment where I can ask those questions. And so if that's what you need at this point, and hey, I've been fooling around last year, I'm not trying to have 2024 be the year where I don't finish this dissertation, then I want you to go ahead and visit our website, scan the QR code, and get the support that you need. And so with that said, I want to talk about the last factor to consider of what to do when your coursework might be failing you. And if for those of you who are watching this on social media, if there's something that's resonating with you, go ahead and drop a comment. And if for those of you all who are watching this via our HBCU Smart TV folks, feel free to let us know. Feel free to reach out to us on social media about something that has resonated with you. If you just find us on all platforms at Done Dissertation, you can learn more about us, or find us on our website, www.thedonedissertation.com. And so when we're thinking about the last aspect around why your coursework might fail you, the way that you overcome that is that sometimes you have to, as I mentioned in the first point, you kind of look internally. What resources do you have access to? Then you have to, ask the questions. Then you ask for examples from your chair. And then at some point, those resources may be exhausted. And at that point, what I would consider and want you to do is look for outside resources. At the beginning of this episode, I talked about my own experience when I wanted to learn stats, and have a more proficient understanding and application of statistics. I went back to school and got a grant to do that. It actually was a professor who was in a class for first year doctoral students and second year doctoral students in these psychometric and statistical courses. That is what I needed to do to get the support that I needed for myself. For some of you all watching at this point, you might need the support of going to a program like what we operate and run at Done Dissertation. You might need that extra hand holding and support that can help propel you. This is something that gets our clients done so fast because they recognize and get into this environment where they get things done. And this is exactly what we want for you. We don't want you all sitting on the sidelines watching everyone finish when you can go and have access to resources to get done. This is why we partnered and have our content streaming on HBCU Smart TV and other resources, because we just know we got to get this out to the masses, because sometimes we as doctoral students are in this kind of bubble, and sometimes it can feel lonely in that bubble, especially when we are in environments that are racially hostile or hostile to other identities that you may hold, right? And so we put out this material because I want you all to really understand that, one, you can finish your dissertation. And two, I know that you want to finish because you have such impactful work to do. So there's no need to let what you can go outside to get a resource for to keep you from getting to you finishing your dissertation. And what I do know is that when you are done, you want to be able to turn that dissertation and turn that expertise into income. Because I know you all want to do this work to impact lives, but you all also know that by impacting lives and by changing someone else's life, the monetary reward will follow. And that's for certain. I tell this to people all the time. And we had this exchange on Twitter, and someone had mentioned that, they were against the kind of mindset around folks leveraging their doctorate to make income. And I'm like, y'all, you should do that. You're going to be investing all these time and resources, especially you go to get outside support. You come to work with us at Done Dissertation. We're not cheap for sure, right? This is a mid 4-figure investment that you're going to make in yourself by working with us. But we are giving you and helping you get to that result of getting done, because we know that over the course of your career, the ROI is instantaneous of once you finish. And sometimes we don't consider and think through that component. We're always just thinking about, what is this going to cost me versus what is it costing me to be still where I am right now? And so this is why when your coursework fails, you might have to go back and get outside support. And one of those supports, if you're trying to get your dissertation done, is maybe looking at the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program to get help to get your dissertation done. If you are someone who is, maybe not the dissertation phase yet, but preparing to get to dissertation, what I would suggest is that there's nothing better than having a plan in place to get your dissertation done. And this is why we have a course called Design Your Done Dissertation. And literally with this course, it was designed to help you build out the framework and the model in order to have a plan in place so that you can finish your dissertation. So if you're someone who is at that point in the process, you're getting ready to start your dissertation and want to have a plan in place, this is a low-cost training that you can secure. And it comes with a workbook that you can map out your entire plan. And I promise you, if you implement the strategies that we have in the Design Your Done Dissertation training, you will be more than ready to finish your dissertation in record time. And you can scan the QR code here to grab that training, or you can visit www.designyourdissertation.com. And again, for some of you all who might be watching, you might be at the beginning of the doctoral process, right? And so in our program, we work with folks who are at the dissertation phase, but you might be at the beginning of the journey. And if you're someone who's at the beginning, or you're considering going into a doctoral program, it's great to have insight about the end at the beginning. And so this is literally the reason why I wrote this book called 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. And you can scan here the QR code to grab a copy of the book. These are for people if you're trying to get some insight and practical strategies on how to prepare for dissertation success. Or if you're getting ready to start your dissertation and you just want to know, how do I get ahead of this? This is why I wrote this book in particular. It's a quick, actionable read. It's literally 60, 70 pages cover to cover that you can read in 1 or 2 sittings that will help get you done and get your dissertation process over with. So these are the ways, again, thinking about outside resources of how we can help you get done. I just want to present these because there's different options depending on where you are along your doctoral journey. Again, I want you all to do something, whatever it is that you need to get done, whether it's helping getting something from us or not. That I'm not concerned about. I just want you all to know that there are resources that exist and make sure that you get access to them. Because the difference of folks who finish in a dissertation is not about the ability. It's just sometimes about what's happening up here. And part of that is being willing to ask for help. And so I want you all to make sure that you get the help that you need to finish out the dissertation process. And so that is today's episode of From ABD to PhD show. Again, we talked about why your coursework might fail you and what to do as a result. And just to recap, first thing you're going to do is that you may have to re-educate yourself. And as part of that, you might need to ask your chair to give you other resources to improve. You may want to look at your university resources for more supports. Those might be the initial places to start. The second piece is that when your coursework might fail you, what you have to then do is then ask for clarification and ask for examples, because there's no need to try to think all this up in your head if you really can't see it. It's kind of like looking when you are putting a puzzle together and you're putting it together, not having a really good idea of what the final product might look. You just have the pieces, but you don't even have the box anymore. And so for some of y'all, you might need an example. You might need the box to put in front of you, like, oh, this is how this looks. Then you know how to put the pieces together. And so this is something that you want to start asking for from your chair. And then lastly, what you may have to do then when your coursework might fail you is that your next step then might be to go get an outside resource. And this is why we created the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program as a resource to when you are working on your dissertation to get the support that you need to finish. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can go to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code here that is on your screen via your smartphone or smart device. It'll take you right to the website to learn more about what we do. And as always, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a great week. I look forward to see you all soon. Again, many thanks to the folks at HBCU Smart TV for also streaming this episode on their platform. Make sure that you check them out at hbcusmarttv.com. Thank you again, Sonia, and the folks over there. I really appreciate you all. And Brother Ray, thank you all so much for the work that you're doing to support Black businesses who are doing meaningful work impacting the Black community. And looking forward to staying connected with you all on the next episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you haven't followed us yet, go to our YouTube page. That is where all of our content resides. We've been going live and having this show airing for the last now going on 4 years. We started back in 2020. And now we're going on 4 years strong. So we have so much content, so much valuable resources for you. Please go to our YouTube page. You go to Done Dissertation. Just type in Done Dissertation on YouTube. You will find our YouTube channel. Please hit the like and subscribe button. If you're watching this live on any social media platform, go there right now. Do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button, and share this out with 1 or 2 people that you know that could provide, that could get insight from this episode. And with that, I'm Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation. And I look forward to see you all next time on another episode of From ABD to PhD show. Take care and have a blessed week.